something about it. Chip got the flow wide open if you got questions about it. Man, it's the show that brings you to your raw. To solve all problems, it starts with real talk. Real talk. It's 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 real talk. Yeah. Welcome to Real Talk with your host, Chip Washington. It's real talk. It's real talk. It's real talk. Hey.
And here we go on this Monday evening in the city, 6 o'clock straight up. That means it is time for Real Talk Memphis. Glad to have you with us. I am your program host. My name is Chip Washington. Of course, you know who you are. And once again, we reconvene for another hour of information and, of course, news that you can use. I hope that the last 7 days for you have been decent and in order, so to speak. Everything has gone okay since the last time we communicated. But gang's all here tonight. We are all very glad to be back in the air chair because, boy, I tell you, man, there's so much stuff happening in our city these days. You have to pray from the time you hit the ground until it's time to end the day. But again, so happy to have you with us for the next hour. We hope that you can stick with us tonight. We have a pretty good show on tap, we think, and we hope that you will think so after it is all said and done. In terms of how you get this fine piece of radio broadcasting, well, you know, I'm always glad when you ask that question. We are on right now, 91.7 live on WYXR. That's 91.7 on the FM dial. You can also catch us on the YXR app, the TuneIn app. We are broadcasting on Facebook Live this evening. And, of course, once the show has been posted, you can catch us a little bit later on in the weekend. We'll post to YouTube. And as we are a podcast, you will be able to pick up our show wherever you are in this country and wherever you get your podcast. Now, you can't do any better than that. I don't care what you say. You just can't do it. So there is how you find us, how you get us, and how you keep us. In terms of our show tonight, I think we have some good information for you that we would like to share. We are going to be speaking with Jerri Green. Jerri is one of the newly elected councilwomen here in the city of Memphis. And we're going to talk to her, of course, about why she decided to run for the city council and the issue of now interim chief C.J. Davis. I'm still working on that. I still can't in my head figure out why they chose that as an option. But since we were last together last Tuesday, of course, the council was going to talk about a reappointment. Clearly, in discussions that were had with Mayor Paul Young and some of the council folks, there were not enough votes that were going to change anything. There's a lot of the word chaos was used by the mayor in terms of not only what's happening in our streets, but is what's happening in terms of this process. So that has been tabled now. She is still the police chief, but she has the interim title in front of her name. And once again, I still can't figure that out. I just don't, you wake up in the morning and you're the police chief of the city of Memphis. You go to bed that night and now you're the interim police chief of the city of Memphis. A little backwards there, but we'll talk to Jerri about that, how they came to that decision and what she thinks about all of this moving forward. A little bit later on, we'll be speaking with State Representative Sam McKenzie out of Knoxville. I wanted to get a reading on what is happening in our legislative arena up there in Nashville. Last year it was a complete mess. And, of course, gun control is still one of the major topics of conversation and discussion that needs to be had. But I wanted to get a read from him. And then, of course, last Friday, there was a press conference. I'll talk to you about that in a minute, about what the legislature is proposing as an add-on to the state constitution. So we'll talk to Sam about all of that. And a bit later on, with the snow and the ice and the rain, and of course the ever familiar potholes. One of the things that all of this caused was an issue with our water. We had a first ever boil water notice. We had a boil water advisory going on. We had water pressure that was either non-existent or very, very low in many areas. And I wanted to find out what, if anything, was affected, is affected, or could be affected in terms of our water. Because one of the things Memphis is known for is this great water. So we're going to have our good friend Sarah Houston, aka the Water Warrior, will be joining me. She's the executive director of Protect Our Aquifer, and she will also have another guest with her from Flint, Michigan. And of course, if you've been keeping up, a few years back, Flint was all over the news every night for the lead pipe situation, which affected their water there as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about our water concerns, and if there are any, what we're looking for, and what may happen in the future with Sarah a bit later on in the broadcast. But this is the time of the show where we salute you. If you were fortunate enough to make another trip around the sun, well, then this is your segment. This is your opportunity. If you had a birthday over the weekend, if you have one today or this week, we want to acknowledge your presence on this earth and your value on this earth as well by way of the shout out. But we can't do any of that until I say, hit it, Bren.
Happy birthday!
All right. On this Monday, happy birthday shout outs going out to the following folks. Ms. B. White, celebrating a birthday today. Happy birthday to Juliet Nelson, to Terrell Cole. Happy birthday, Belinda Jones. Terry Faulkner celebrating today. And Mitch Wright celebrating his birthday today as well. Now, for all of you who's celebrating your birthday today, from all of us here at Real Talk Memphis, happy birthday. Hope your day was filled with fun and laughter. And if all of us are fortunate enough to be here 1 year from today, we will do it all over again to celebrate your next trip around the sun. Happy birthday, everybody. Thank you, Bren. So it wasn't a good weekend in our city in terms of violent episodes that happened. We had 7 people shot. We had 7 people die over the weekend from late Friday and Saturday early into late yesterday. We had 7 deaths in our city. And one of those involved a triple shooting, which happened on Saturday evening. 1 person dead from that. Last night, there was a quadruple shooting, or 4 people shot. 2 of those people died in that incident. There were 3 shootings in themselves in the Fraser area, and 2 shootings in Parkway Village. So it was a very, very bad weekend in terms of the violence that continues to plague our city. We now have at least 20, maybe a little bit more than that, homicides so far in our city. And it's just January. And we still have a couple of days to go. And, you know, again, just a complete breakdown in communication, a complete breakdown in structure and everything else. I don't know if any of you were aware. There was a story about a man who shot the mother of his 2 children. That happened early Saturday morning about 5 a.m. The individual in question apparently posted a confession that he did shoot her on Facebook. The post was later deleted, but not after some 6,000 folks shared it all over the country, all over the city. And as a matter of fact, the woman in question was 27 years old. I heard that she was, again, a lovely person, lovely human being. The individual in question said that he shot her because he thought someone was breaking in the house at 5 o'clock in the morning. So he said. As of right now, no suspect has been arrested for that crime. I heard that a person was detained, but the family is upset because charges have not yet been filed. We'll keep an eye on that situation. As I mentioned at the top, last Tuesday, after we left you, apparently the reappointment of Police Chief C.J. Davis got squashed, got canceled by the mayor, by the way, who had apparently done his due diligence doing some research. And he talked to some of the law enforcement officers under her charge at the Memphis Police Department. I had a quiet, private meeting with them. And apparently, after doing that, and after talking to the council members and others, he felt like he did not have the support needed to get this reappointment done. And of course, Chairman of the City Council, BJ Smiley said that JB Smiley, I'm sorry, pardon me, y'all. JB Smiley said that there was not going to be a change in the number. She was rejected 7-6 the first time around. There seems to be some dissension in the ranks of the Memphis Police Department. So with all of that going on and all of the confusion surrounding all of this, Mayor Young decided to table the reappointment for the time being. How long that is, none of us know. But we will wait and see. He wants to make sure that he has enough time to be able to direct this ship and hopefully, promote and encourage folks to give this administration and her another opportunity. So we will see what happens with that. In terms of the state legislature, they had a press conference here in Memphis on Friday afternoon with the Speaker of the House, Cameron Sexton. They made an announcement that they were looking at adding an amendment to the state constitution that would withhold bond to individuals that commit more serious felonies. So if you commit murder, maybe second-degree murder, or however all this goes, you may not, if they pass this, be eligible for bond. Meaning you'll go to jail and you'll stay in jail for the crime that you committed. So I'll ask Sam McKenzie about that in just a couple of minutes, and a lot of other things. And I wonder what you all think about that as well. I mean, is it a step in the right direction? It's the first step. Maybe somebody's hearing us up there in Nashville. Maybe, but we will see how that breaks out. In sports news, the University of Memphis has lost their third game in a row. This team started out gangbusters under Penny, but now we have fallen on some lean times. So we'll see what happens with them. And the Super Bowl in 2 weeks will feature the Kansas City Chiefs versus the San Francisco 49ers, which is a repeat of the Super Bowl we had about 4 years ago, which KC won. So we'll see what happens with all of that. We're going to take our first break of the night. And when we come back, let's get into the show. What do you say? You guys ready to go? You all fired up and ready to go? I am as well. So we'll do that. And when we come back, we will kick things off in just a minute. This is Real Talk Memphis. I am Chip. You know who you are. We'll see you in just a minute. We'll be right back.
If you like Real Talk, here's a way you can get involved. Do you have a show topic idea or suggestion? Want to be considered a guest or have a guest idea? Then send Chip a message on his Real Talk show page and you can be a part of the Real Talk experience. So as he always says, go out and tell somebody. We'll be right back.
Located on the second floor of the Crosstown Concourse, the Memphis Listening Lab is a nonprofit collection of music and music history that is open to the public every Tuesday through Sunday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Boasting an eclectic collection of tens of thousands of LPs and 45s, a state-of-the-art sound room, and various vinyl and streaming listening stations, our free library has something for music lovers of all stripes. More information and the complete listing of upcoming events is available at memphislisteninglab.org.
Buster's Liquors and Butcher is proud to support WYXR, featuring the 3-Chord Backstage Series whiskey, custom blends created in collaboration with each artist, featuring Lucero, Dinosaur Jr., the Cadillac 3, and more. More information at bustersliquors.com.
Shannon and Cecilia here. Do you love stories featuring community changemakers in Memphis?
Don't miss Just Bluffin',
A feel-good podcast found online in the WYXR Podcast Network.
Access all our podcasts at wyxr.org.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
And welcome back to Real Talk Memphis on this Monday evening. Chip with you. And before I go any farther, we have a loyal and dedicated group of individuals who check us out on Facebook Live every week. And I wanted to say, what's good? How are you guys doing this evening? Audrey and Mike and GKP and Carlos and Patricia Rogers and and Denise. I see you on there as well. Thank you all for being with us tonight. And I want to thank our first guest, of course. We've never met, and this is the first time he's been on our show, and I'm very happy to have him. The state legislature is back in session up in Nashville. And of course, there are always hopes in reference to some of the business that they take care of that will affect us in a very positive way. So I wanted to reach out and speak with someone, and I'm very happy to have our first guest. He states Representative Sam McKenzie out of Knoxville. He is serving his second year as chairman of the Tennessee Black Caucus of State Legislators, and he joins me now. And if it's okay to call you Sam, listen, I really appreciate you coming on the show, and welcome to Real Talk Memphis.
Good to be here. Absolutely, call me Sam, and I'm looking forward to the conversation. It's good to get the information and the voice out of Nashville. We kind of live up here on the bubble sometimes.
Absolutely that. Well, I alluded to the first thing I want to ask you about is I alluded to this at the top. Cameron Sexton was here on Friday meeting with several of our local leaders, of course, police chief, the district attorney, and several other people. They held a press conference to announce the possibility of adding an amendment to the state constitution that would withhold bond for individuals that commit more serious felonies. And I wanted to get your take on that in terms of, first of all, is that a good step? Is that a positive step? I mean, are people starting to listen up there? What's your take from the floor?
Well, it's a mixed bag. To me, it's a dangerous proposition because you're putting more power into our judges' hands. And right now, our judges are being selected for their political aspects and aspirations as opposed to doing proper judgment of the law. So it scares me. I fully understand we are dealing with a lot of crime by repeat offenders, and we need something about that. But I just worry that, one, this goes a little too far, and secondly, what are we doing on the front end? It's very reactive, in my opinion. What exactly are we doing on the front end to try to prevent some of these crimes in terms of our resources?
Now, last year, of course, there was a very unfortunate incident not too far from where you are at the elementary school up there that killed 6 people. And there were demonstration after demonstration after demonstration for people pleading and begging the State House, which is dominated by the Republican Party, to do something to address gun control. So far, I don't know what the effort is been or the interest has been up there in terms of that house, but I do know that they spent some time passing bills to keep folks out of the chamber up there, to even keep from voicing their opinion. So Sam, what exactly is happening, and is there still the same type of frustration from the Democrats that there was last year when absolutely nothing got done about gun control?
Right. We are focusing on the wrong things. We're worried about citizens coming into the people's house. And when I say citizens, the average person is probably 20-something years old. They're not this militant group that they're painted out to be. They're people that are angry because we're doing absolutely nothing. And we continue to do absolutely nothing. Now, the Democrats introduced bills, and we're going to introduce all kinds of bills to try to put training back in, to try to give some relief on these 30 magazine rounds, to do some real gun reforms. Hey, the Second Amendment is clear. No one's talking about taking guns, but to take 30 shots to hit that deer that you're trying to shoot, no, what it's used for is for some things that really don't make sense. And also, if someone is proving themselves to be a risk to themselves or other people, we know it. The family knows it. The aunt knows it. The neighbor knows it. They'll go to court and get approved. Those people, we need to temporarily take those guns away from them, because time and time again, we're finding those are the ones that are going out there committing these kind of heinous acts.
Yeah, I mean, it really does seem frustrating from the perspective of, just what we're doing here, of course, in Shelby County, in Memphis and Shelby County. It's a big problem, and I'm sure it's a big problem statewide as well. But I mean, there is a palatable frustration, and there's fear here, and there's mistrust here, because every day that goes by, we're waiting for another body to drop, and we feel like that someone up in Nashville ought to be paying enough attention to what is going on here to really understand. Now, I do know that there are some representatives, and I won't say all, but there are some that are putting bills on the floor to be considered that are sort of generally focused, on guns. But if I'm hearing you correctly, not even enough focus is being placed on these issues. And really, I guess I want to ask you, are your Republican colleagues more centered? Some of the ones that you work with on a daily basis, do they hear us? Do they understand us? And are they focused on trying to do something substantial in terms of this issue?
Honestly, I think they hear us, but they're listening to those right-wing zealots out there, like the Tennessee Firearms Association, that only want to cut laws. They're listening to the people that want to allow guns into the Liberty Bowl Stadium, into Neyland Stadium, into any public building. That's who they're listening to. And if not but for a few on the other side of the aisle, a lot of these measures are going to get passed. So they hear it. They hear these covenant mothers that are showing up to every meeting. Mm-hmm. They empathize with them, but at the end of the day, their votes are aligning with those NRA, Tennessee Firearms Association type people who putting monies in their pockets, but they're also threatening them with a primary. They're saying, well, if you don't do what we want, we're going to put someone in a little further right wing than you are, a little more of a gun nut than you are, and beat you in your primary. So that's the balance that they think they have to deal with. But at the end of the day, you got to go with your heart. You were elected to this position to be a guardian over this great state, and we can't continue to pass these bad bills or not pass some of the good ones that rein things back in. So again, I'm trying to make it make sense to them. I'm a hopeless optimist, and at the end of the day, I'm hoping that we'll be able to move some legislation that makes a good impact.
Sam, as chairman of the Tennessee Black Caucus of state legislators, you all have an agenda as well. You all have some things that you're fighting for, that you want to see. What does your agenda, especially in the Tennessee Black Caucus of state legislators, what are you all looking at? What are you all fighting for? What are you trying to see as a positive change in this session this year?
Well, generally I'll say if the life of a black person rises and gets better, I guarantee you every other ethnic group, race is going to do a lot better. So that to me is a true statement. It's something that we can count on. Let's make the lives of the African Americans in this state better. So how are we trying to do that? Education. We know our schools need some work. Our public schools, our charter schools, but we're not funding those schools at the appropriate level. We're in the 40s. We can do better. We have billions of dollars in the bank, and we're not spending these money. That's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're billions of dollars in Washington, D.C. because somebody called it Obamacare, and Obama's a black man. And that residue is still permeating the halls. The reason, and this benefits the rural white constituents as well, Tennesseans as well, but they won't vote for it for in my opinion, obvious reasons. So what I'm hoping, what we're pushing for the Black Caucus, better education, better schools, more funding, better funding for schools, that we can have teachers that last a lot longer, get better teachers, hire trained teachers, getting back health as well. And, we got Blue Oval coming. I think that's going to be a great project. We've got others in East and Middle, but we also need to continue to drive those wages up to where people can have a fair chance and get a good affordable housing. So those are the things that we're focused on. Additionally, a lot of what we do is play defense. We're trying to block this voucher bill. To spend public money on private schools makes absolutely no sense. I know Memphis is probably a lot like Knoxville. The top 10 schools in Knoxville, you can't get in for $7,000. So we're trying to block those bills. We're trying to get some funding for Tennessee State, our only publicly funded HBCU.
Yeah.
They owe the state $2.6 billion. The state of Tennessee owes that money to Tennessee State University. It's time to cash that check.
Well, listen, that's an ambitious agenda. There's a lot at stake here for, as you say, all of us. And we really appreciate you taking the time to, I know you're busy up there, taking the time to come and visit with us tonight and kind of give us, a little bit of a peek inside the walls up there. And we wish you the best. We hope that this, before it's all said and done, this legislative session, before it ends, that there will actually be something that we can all be positive about for all of our citizens here in the state of Tennessee. State Representative Sam McKenzie of Knoxville, thank you, sir, for coming on the show tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night. Thank you, sir.
All right. Take care.
All right. So you heard that. That's sort of a view from the house up there in Nashville as to what they're trying to do. And it sounds like, it's going to be some uphill sledding, but we have to continue to fight always. We're going to take our next break. And when we come back, we're going to bring the politics back around here to the local side. We're going to talk to one of our newly elected city council women, Jerri Green. This is Real Talk Memphis. I am Chip Washington. You know who you are. Let's take a quick one, and we'll be right back.
If you like Real Talk, here's a way you can get involved. Do you have a show topic idea or suggestion? Want to be considered a guest or have a guest idea? Then send Chip a message on his Real Talk show page and you can be a part of the Real Talk experience. So as he always says, go out and tell somebody. We'll be right back.
It's real talk. It's real talk. It's real talk. It's real talk.
Located on the second floor of the Crosstown Concourse, the Memphis Listening Lab is a curated collection of music and music history that is open to the public 6 days a week. Vinyl Happy Hour happens every Friday between 3 and 5 p.m., where guest DJs from around the community will spin some of their favorite records. More information and a complete listing of upcoming events at memphislisteninglab.org.
Programming on WYXR is brought to you by a grant from Arts Memphis, who has been working behind the scenes for 60 years to grow the foundation of Memphis arts.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
And welcome back to the show on this cool and crisp Monday evening in the city. Chip with you on this edition of Real Talk Memphis. And very pleased to have our guest with us this evening. She's no stranger to this show. We've had her on a couple of times in the past. But recently she made a decision that she wanted to be more involved in the politics and the governance of our city. She ran for the city council in her district, and she won. And we were very pleased to have our good friend, Councilwoman Jerri Green with us. And Jerri, it's great to see you. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Chip?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Well, first of all, congratulations, on your victory. And you all had quite the agenda so far this year. You've had a couple of city council meetings, and some very important issues came up. One of which, of course, was the reappointment of our current police chief, C.J. Davis. Well, that one surprised many of us out here when that was rejected in a 7-6 vote. You were one of the folks that voted against. Since then, the second meeting, which happened last week, it was supposed to try it again, I guess, but. Due to the fact that there were some other circumstances that came up, the mayor found out apparently that the body had not changed their mind or their vote. There were some issues internally within the police department, and that this vote shouldn't happen. So he decided to cancel that vote. Subsequently, the chief is now the interim police chief. But let me back up a minute. When she first came before the committee, you all questioned her about various issues. You in particular were pretty tough in your questioning of her. What was there about what you have seen, what you know in terms of the leadership of the police department that swayed your vote?
Well, there is nothing more important in this community right now than we get a handle on crime. And I heard it from every constituent whose door I was on, that I was knocking when I was running for office and in the runoff. And it affects everything. It affects mothers like me whose children go on lockdown. It affects businesses. It affects tourism. So we've got to get a handle on crime. And I, in particular, was maybe tough. I did run as one tough mother.
That you did. That you did. Absolutely, yeah.
I think that we have to hold the people who are in positions of power in our city accountable, and we have to make sure that every time we are placed with the power and the decision of a mayor, that we don't just rubber stamp it. I believe he wants to get to work and he wants to do good things, but we have to do our own homework too. And so in doing that research, I just did not feel comfortable at this time giving her my vote of confidence. Now, I'll say this, I hope she proves me wrong. I hope she is wildly successful and the city turns around the shape we're in right now.
Yeah, there are a lot of challenges to be sure. As I talked about at the top of the show, we had 7 murders in the last 3 days here in our city, which is absolutely horrible for everyone concerned. We also know that one person can't solve the crime problems, whether it be the police chief, whether it be the mayor, or the individuals on the council. But you said something very interesting in making sure that your job is to listen to your constituency and hold folks accountable in terms of this. Now, I'm still a little confused about the whole interim thing. She's still the police chief of the city of Memphis, but why the interim tag, from what you know?
Well, like you said, I think Mayor Young saw the writing on the wall and knew that we still had concerns. And so having her be interim and having it table the issue means that she can be brought back before the council at any point. And in the meantime, we can set out a series of metrics and measurements that we want to see as improvement. Are homicides going down? Is our solve rate going up? Are people in our community feeling more safe? And we're also going to look and see, are there more lawsuits coming down the pipeline? What's happening with the DOJ investigation? All of those things will play a part in whether she remains or is reappointed, or whether we, move on to somebody else. Again, the important thing is not who sits in that seat, it's that we stop crime in our community.
One of the things that has come out of this, your chairman, J.B. Smiley, stated that internally there were some problems within the rank and file. And in my mind, you can't be very effective in leading a law enforcement agency if many of your rank and file employees are not satisfied or happy with the direction that it's going in. And I would imagine that was something that caught your attention as well, correct?
Absolutely. In fact, just last Friday, I went to all three police precincts in District 2. I was delivering breakfast to say thanks for what they did during the winter storms, but I got a chance to talk to a lot of the rank and file in person. And I had some talks before that as well about how they felt. And, I kind of liken it to a football team. I'm an SEC football fan. We're coming up on Super Bowl weekend. So I guess it's a good analogy. But if you have lost the crowd, in this case, the community, you're going to start feeling the heat if you're the head coach. But when you lose the locker room, it really becomes hard to win games. And I know we have a new AD, a new mayor, but sometimes you do need a new head coach before you can actually start turning things around, especially when you've lost that locker room. So I know they have had some conversations with the mayor, and they are talking just as we have talked. We would like to see things improve. We want to get to work on that. So whatever form that takes, we're just ready to get to work.
One of the things that people have been talking about recently is the prevention side of this. It's like, well, how do we keep this from happening? How do we prevent these crimes from happening? The mayor used terms like, chaos. I mean, we need to stop the chaos, which is that's a pretty strong word to use when you're talking about law enforcement and crime as it sits. Is that something that you individually are thinking about as well? I mean, the prevention of crime. Can we actually come up with some solutions or something that could help to prevent what we're seeing in our streets today?
Absolutely, because if you look around the country, almost every city of our size and makeup has seen record low crime in the last year. If it's cities that have a majority minority and a lot of people living in poverty, you think St. Louis, New Orleans, Detroit, they all saw record low crimes. You think of places that have permitless carry, Nashville, Knoxville, Montgomery, they saw reductions in crime. You think of people that maybe have bail reform, criminal justice reform, all up and down the East Coast, Boston, New York, they all saw reductions in crime. And they've put in a lot of really interesting and innovative policing techniques that I think we can use. I also think they did a lot of wraparound services, and that's something that I've been doing on the county side in my day job. I still have my day job with Mayor Harris.
Okay.
And, we do a lot of pouring into our youth and trying to find ways to divert them on to a different path, like our Youth and Family Resource Center, doubling the number of youth counselors and police precincts was something I was involved in. Those sort of things are great. We also have to think about the people who are re-entering our society from prison and know that we've got to make sure they have a path not back to recidivism. And the number one way to do that is through a job. I started worktobreakthecycle.com, and we've hired over 150 people in Shelby County through it. And the thing is, people are most vulnerable to going back to a life of crime right when they get out of prison, and they're most motivated not to go back to prison right when they get out of prison. So we have to be willing to give people second chances right away, and that's a great path towards ending this cycle of crime.
One final question, this issue has been with us for a while, but it seems to be coming up a bit more lately, and that's the issue of blight. Every time I pick up something, I'm reading the frustration in neighborhoods and communities about the trash, about the blight, and that brings forth a certain element. Is that something that you're also focused on?
Absolutely. I just this afternoon went on a walk with the Director of Public Works downtown on Beale Street because while it's not my district, a lot of people in my district visit there. Memphians from all corners visit downtown. And we talked about not only picking up the city's trash, but how we could encourage individuals to pick up, talking about enforcing code. And we talked about other places around the county where we have to do more litter pickup, where we have to work on cutting down grass and making sure that code's enforced in, the other areas as well. I've been a part of projects where once properties go into the land bank, we give them for a nominal fee to nonprofits who then turn them into rejuvenated low-income housing. I'm interested in working on stuff like that in the city side too. We've definitely got to get a hold of making sure that we're all doing our part. See, the thing about crime is it's going to take all of us.
Yes.
So you got to put your trash in the trash can. You got to mow your grass. You got to keep your house up. But the city's got to do its part too, right? We can't leave out orange cones all week either.
Yeah.
We've got to make sure that business owners are keeping up their facades, all that kind of stuff. It's going to take every single one of us, and blight's going to be part of that solution.
City Councilwoman Jerri Green, a.k.a. One Tough Mother. Thank you for coming on the show tonight. Thank you for the open dialogue and the great conversation. And more importantly, congratulations on your victory. And we look forward to talking to you many times during your time on the City Council. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Have a great night.
Ladies
and gentlemen, Jerri Green, Councilwoman Jerri Green, with some she's a very straightforward and honest woman. I mean, and you ask her a question, she will give you an honest answer, and I really appreciate that. I'm really happy to have her on the show. We're going to take our final break, and when we come back, let's talk water on this Monday edition of Let's Talk About It right here. I'm sorry, on this Monday edition of Real Talk Memphis. Well, we can talk about it on Real Talk Memphis. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
If you like Real Talk, here's a way you can get involved. Do you have a show topic idea or suggestion? Want to be considered a guest or have a guest idea? Then send Chip a message on his Real Talk show page and you can be a part of the Real Talk experience. So as he always says, go out and tell somebody. We'll be right back.
Shannon and Cecilia here. Do you love stories featuring community changemakers in Memphis?
Don't miss Just Bluffin',
a feel-good podcast found online in the WYXR Podcast Network.
Access all our podcasts at wyxr.org.
Did you know when you purchase a specialty arts license plate, you're supporting the Tennessee Arts Commission and organizations like WYXR? It's easy. Just take your old plate to your county clerk and swap it out, or choose the arts plate when it's time for renewal. Show your love for WYXR and other Tennessee arts organizations by visiting tnspecialtyplates.org.
Programming on WYXR is brought to you by a grant from Arts Memphis, who has been working behind the scenes for 60 years to support and amplify arts events, programs, and experiences that together make a more vibrant and accessible Memphis arts scene.
Thanks for tuning in to WYXR 91.7 FM. Chris Rowling here, host of Dippin' Your Hip on Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. As a listener-supported station, WYXR thrives on your support, not just as listeners, but as active contributors. So, I'm asking you to become a sustaining member today. Head on over to wyxr.org/donate and hit that donate button to keep your favorite WYXR DJs and hosts on the airwaves. Plus, our monthly donors get their own WYXR merch and a ton of other perks. Our way of saying thanks. Visit wyxr.org www.ksbc.com/donate today, become a monthly donor, and let's help keep the station with the city soul going strong.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
And welcome back to Real Talk Memphis on this Monday evening in the city. Chip with you. Hope that you are enjoying the ride. These storms that we had recently were pretty tough. We had a lot of snow in various parts of the city and the county. And, of course, after that, we had a whole bunch of rain. And that compounded some problems in terms of our water system. So we had a first ever in the history of the city boil water notice. We had a water advisory here. We had low pressure in many of the areas because pipes were bursting all over the city. It was causing low pressure. It was causing no pressure in some areas, which prompted me to think about, okay, our water supply. And when I think water, I think of one person in particular, but we also have another person with her as well. Please welcome to the show, Sarah Houston, the Executive Director of Protect Our Aquifer, a.k.a. the Water Warrior. And we also have Latricia Adams with us as well from Black Millennials for Flint. Ladies, it's great to see you. Welcome to the show.
All right, Chip, thanks for having us.
Latricia, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Well, welcome to you as well. Sarah, let's start at the top here. In terms of what happened with the storms and, of course, the damage that we all saw. I'm sure as busy as you are, that must have raised your antenna, especially when we had a boil water notice and a boil water advisory for the first time in the history of our city. In terms of where things stand with all of that, where do you stand with all of that?
Yeah, those first few days of the storm, I think everybody, thought we were getting out of it scotch-free. We didn't have any major issues, but when that thaw really started to happen, that's when we saw those breaks. So, we saw in 2021 and 2022 and now 4, these continual boil water notices, this low pressure, folks going without water for days.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I had to go 18 hours without water.
Oh, goodness.
And, we've got this old aging infrastructure in our city. And MLGW, Memphis Light Gas and Water, they're in charge of all that water distribution system. And for a long time, they did not make any major infrastructure upgrades. And we're paying the price now. The good news is it could have been worse, and it wasn't as bad as it could have been. But we're still really keeping the pressure on MLGW to really continue to go after federal funding for our water infrastructure upgrades. And we can get into this a little bit, but think about how do we make sure that the big water users are paying the cost for those upgrades and not us residential water users, because it's imbalanced right now. We're paying way more than industry pays for water.
Well, that's interesting in and of itself. And I do know, and I think I want to ask you about it because it was in my head. I think you talked about trying to create some sort of an advisory board or some sort of a community board in reference to all of this. I know I'm messing that up, but tell me what you.
No, you're on the right track.
What you guys?
No, I'll let Latricia speak on this a little bit. But
okay.
The thing with boil water notice is it's about getting access to that information that, hey, if you have water, it needs to be boiled. And so sometimes just getting that information, there's text alerts or social media. It's mostly word of mouth too. But there's a big piece of information we have to get on the front end that Latricia is really, up to speed on why we need to filter first. So I'll pass that over to Latricia.
Well, Latricia, it's great to have you on the show. And of course, you were, I guess you were a big part of, your background is in Flint, Michigan. And we all know about that situation up there with the lead pipes and the whole 9 yards. So What can you add to all of this in terms of what you see in reference to our water situation and how we move forward from here?
Sure. So thank you for that question. So one of the things that's really important to the work that I do is to think about our water infrastructure and the things that happen with climate change, which exacerbates the issues that we see, is to also focus on public health. So one of the things that is really important when we talk about a boil water notice is to filter first if you suspect or if you have confirmed lead service lines. So adjacent to the issue that we have with this water infrastructure crisis, we do have up to 24,000 lead service lines throughout the city of Memphis. Many communities are, of course, Black communities, so lots of old pipes and just old infrastructure like in Orange Mound, where my family is from, the Riverside community of South Memphis, parts of North Memphis. In addition to even beyond just the lead service lines. If you live in a home that hasn't been updated, if you don't have the money to do the proper modernizations, you may have lead in your indoor plumbing, meaning your water fixtures, so in bathroom sinks and kitchen sinks, the pipes under the sink. So whenever you do a boil water notice, just as a precautionary measure, it's really important to make sure, rather to be safer than sorry, right? To advise people to filter if they have filters before boiling. The rationale with that is if you boil any water, I'm gonna take it back to physical science, if you boil water that has a heavy metal, so not just lead, it could be copper, arsenic, what have you, when you add that heat to it, it makes it stronger, it makes it more potent. So the rationale, again, just to be safe, in the instance of a boil water notice, you need to filter first. I do want to commend Memphis Light Gas and Water. Honestly, we have been working, trying to get this language updated at least since 2017. I do commend MLGW for ensuring that they did uplift that information. However, as Sarah mentioned, this is new to Shelby County, to Memphis, right? That's a lot of information to take in. You want me to filter the water? You want me to boil it? What do you want me to do? So I think a big part of that is around just education on what to do in the instance of a boil water notice, being proactive, not when it's just happening in the moment, but we know that these water issues, these extreme climate and weather issues are going to be pervasive. It's important to educate people on the front end.
Yeah, absolutely that. And I know Sarah and I have talked many times in the past. And Sarah, do you think, do you concur with Latricia in terms of the communication effort and maybe the cooperation with MLGW, and particularly in light of what just happened, and really providing open and honest information to so many residents out here that they need to know about, and they need to be able to understand it. I know we go back a few years in terms of protect our aquifer and a lot of some of the things that were about to happen back then, but I mean, in terms of since you've been over all of this, are you seeing some progress being made? I know you run up and down the highway to Nashville trying to talk to the folks up in the legislature, but I mean, are things starting to change a bit in terms of the knowledge and really the dissemination of information in terms of our water?
I think it's headed in the right direction. I think it's a really great question, Chip. And to Latricia's point, MLGW did add this new language about filtering before you're boiling. Now, they didn't have it on every single notification at the very beginning, so there was some room for improvement. But I think that, from when we had our first big, deep freeze boil water notice in 2021, no one knew what was going on at all. And I think that, unfortunately, a little practice makes perfect. So us residents are a little bit more used to this, but MLGW's messaging has improved a lot. And I think that, President McGowan, he's the new, I say new, he's been there for a year now, but, he's the new president and CEO. He really wants to be actively communicating in these emergency situations. Now, where MLGW really needs to focus on improving is not just crisis communication. They're really good at, hey, the power's out, here's what's going on. It's like, well, talk to us 2 months ago. Talk to us, when people have this whole opportunity when we're not in crisis mode to learn together, to be prepared, and to accept a two-way dialogue between the community and MLGW versus just one-way messaging. So that's really where we want to see MLGW continue to improve community relationships and education-wise. It shouldn't all be in this moment of crisis. That's when we hear from you.
Proactive instead of reactive, which is what Latricia said a few minutes ago. In terms of opening the lines of communication, to all of us. So where we are with this, and as you said, Latricia, a minute ago. This is something new to us. So we've never, had this situation. We've heard of boil water notices in Mississippi and a lot of other places, but it never really affected us this week. It was kind of a bit of a culture shock for all of us, don't you think? And that's why I think what Sarah just said, the proactive approach here. Tell us on the front end, so we can probably prepare better. Would you agree with that?
I absolutely agree. I'll just be quite frank. It just sticks in my mind. In the media, there were people that were literally taking snow from off the ground and boiling it. That's so dangerous. But the fact that all of your stores have run out of water, while people were under a boil water notice, there were some people that had no water at all.
True.
We even think about people who are postpartum, right? So people that just had babies that went home on ice to find themselves with boil water notices or no water at all. So it's definitely a bit of, it's growing pains. In the South, we bragged historically like, oh, we got good weather. We don't have this really extreme winter weather. We can't really have those bragging rights anymore. So just to kind of piggyback on what Sarah mentioned, it is imperative that there is comprehensive ongoing education. It can't just be these standalone kind of like, hey, come, check out MLGW. Yeah. But it has to be a collaborative, concerted effort. Yeah. MLGW can't work in silos. I will say that with President McGowan, he has been diligent with meeting one-on-one with community members. Yeah. I mean, that is not up for debate. He has been responsive. As I mentioned before, we have been trying to get updated language for the boil water notice since 2017. So I will say that it speaks to him being in this position where, under his leadership, we are starting to see change and hoping that it continues to move in a positive direction. But again, we have to break down the silos. There has to be a commitment to be collaborative, which has not always been the case with MLGW, but hopefully it'll change for the better.
Well, listen, with you two, leading the charge, I can already. I'm motivated now. I'm a talk show host, so I'm motivated now. But listen, thank you both for coming on the show. Sarah, it is always wonderful to see you, my friend, and Latricia, great to meet you. Great to have you on the show as well. Keep fighting. Keep doing what you're doing because it is making a difference, one citizen at a time. Really appreciate you both. Thanks for coming. And Sarah, I'm going to hit you up again before the end of the year, right? So I'm just prepared.
Let's do it. We got to do it again. Thank you so much, Chip. Water Warrior at your service.
Absolutely. Y'all have a great evening. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye. That wraps up this edition of Real Talk Memphis. As Brent plays us out, been a great show. I hope that you all have enjoyed the conversation this evening. I know I have as well. And if you like what we're doing around here, do me a favor. Tell some folks. Tell them, look, you ever checked out this Real Talk Memphis thing on Monday nights? Chip Washington. Check out his show. He's got some great guests, good information, a lot to digest, a lot to think about, a lot to talk about. We appreciate you, as always, for being a part of what we do. So for all of us here at Real Talk Memphis, for Bryn, handling the production duties, for Lola, being Lola. By the way, check out Level Lola each and every Monday evening at 5 p.m. She does her thing right before we do our thing. And it's a great show, by the way. And for Nicole, and for your humble host, Chip Washington, very happy to have you all with us. Be safe, be careful. Until the next time we reconvene 7 days from now. And for now, we are out. Take care. See you soon.